All right, and we're back. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mitchell.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody, howdy doody. And welcome to our special guest who we've been talking about bringing into the show for a couple of weeks. So, Andrew, nice to have you here
everybody.
With us.
Yep.
How's it going?
It's going well, man. Glad to be here.
Going well. Wonderful. And just before we get into it, I guess, just like Andrew, you may not be as big of a fan of the show as like Mitchell and I, like when we constantly watch these things. But can you remember like when the first time you started watching, and is there any like reason for like your interest in it or anything like this?
Oh God, no. It would have been, I guess, after the first time it got canceled.
Yeah.
Still quite early on, but I really just needed something to watch after Simpsons, and for a while I think TBS had it on immediately after an hour of Simpsons. So
Sure.
It made sense.
Is there any episode that kind of like you can remember all the time? Like it was like the first time you ever watched. Was there anything?
Well, so when I was in university, I did a full rewatch up until that point. So I think that was till the end of season 5.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, give or take. So I got 3 to 4 episodes that really just always stick out in my mind.
Sure.
2 of them all fans will know. Jurassic Park. And Luck of the Irish. Like just because gut punches
the 2
are
saddest
apparently
ones at the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I want my hands back.
I want my hands back.
Well, when we get to that, tell you what, if you want, we can bring you in for the Devil's Hands for that episode, because I think that one's such a special one because it is one of the finales, and it is a beautifully written episode.
The first finale.
The first, exactly, one of the
5
finales.
Finale. Is that right?
Yeah.
5? Or is it 4?
5.
The original one,
and
the movie,
original.
the 2. There will be 5 though. There will be 5 because of the new stuff. The new season
right,
coming
they're
out.
coming back.
When the Hulu one ends, that'll be the 5th one, I think. Yes.
Now, here's the question: how many times will the Hulu one end? Once or more than once?
Yeah, let's hope that they're not just like buying a season and be like, okay, this made money, let's buy it again, and then just like, like 2
years later. Yeah, I feel like that's what Netflix is doing, HBO is doing.
Yeah,
a lot of things right now they're taking a long time to do between seasons. Just such as an example here, The Mandalorian season 3 was like 2 years to like a year and a half after the second season.
Right.
So I've lost a little bit of interest in it because it's just taken 2 years to put it out. So hopefully that won't be the issue with the new Futurama. It'll be here's the first 13 episodes, and then we'll say even 6 months later, here's the next one. We have a season, the next 26 episodes in the works, kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
hopefully.
I like that. I like having, like, it's okay to have a breather. Obviously, the last couple of years it happened.
Maybe.
Like it's kind of like the writer's strike. We don't want to talk about it, but
we're gonna get another one soon, I think.
Yeah, we will, and that's gonna fuck everything over all over again. But
that was in 2011, right?
Whenever Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog was a thing.
Sure. Well, with that, like I also don't mind having like that breather, but there's like a difference between like a solid 2-year gap between these things versus like maybe like a summer where you have to wait in between like the seasons, right? But it's also a little bit of danger for like Futurama as a whole, because when was the last time Futurama was on the air? It was literally like 2013.
Yeah.
So
10 years ago.
10 years, like that's more than a breather. That's like a large rest.
That's a child's growth pyramid there.
Yeah, so like there, man. People who like like us, that we enjoy Futurama. Well, you and I, Mitchell, we love Futurama. We do this, and Andrew enjoys Futurama to an extent. You can watch these episodes and enjoy them. But like 10 years, like if anything else comes out during this time, luckily for us, not a lot came out that was kind of in that era that would be as good. Disenchantment has this familiarity to it because of Groening's creation, but I think it doesn't have the same. Well, obviously it doesn't. I think it tried to do it, but instead of science fiction-y, it's more fantasy, and it doesn't quite hit the same because there's no direction in that one, in my opinion. It just kind of bumbles around. Well, Futurama bumbled around funnily would be the best way to describe it differently. we'll get into the episode here in a second. I'll just say like the idea I think is like Disenchantment is kind of like it's serialized, whereas
Maybe that's it.
Futurama and The Simpsons are very episodic. So like a different story happens every time. It's a sitcom.
Well, it doesn't feel that way for Disenchantment.
That's
I know that's what they were trying to do, but it definitely feels the same episode every freaking episode.
Sure. But I think they were trying to tell like a long coherent story where Futurama has like bits and pieces of a story that we can kind of piece together once we see the show. But in any case, when we get to
this one does have a continuity that changes the rest of the season.
Yeah, going which I was just going to bring up here,
circular.
It's the poster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the I was going to bring that up. Yeah, exactly. So when we get to that point. But yes, welcome everybody to like season 2, episode 7, which is like ahead in the polls. This one is fun the beginning is funny because it doesn't have it does not have a cold open for the first time in several episodes. It just goes right into the intro, and it feels a little lazy. Their opening intro little tagline at the bottom is from the makers of Futurama, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, whatever, that works for them, I guess. They do better in the future. And one of my favorite all-time gags of the show is actually introduced in this is the scary door. And I'm so happy that we saw the scary door. And Andrew, because I think you've seen a few when you watch the Twilight Zone, for both of you, I guess, but Andrew as well.
I am a huge
have you seen The Last Man? Right. Have you seen The Last Man on Earth and everything? Yeah.
Yeah,
What did you think of this whole the whole parody of it, I guess, with the scary door?
So yeah, a big fan of Twilight Zone to begin with. References what I would argue is the best episode of the Twilight Zone, Time Enough at Last. Just to go right into it, like I think it's funny to think so episode came out, I guess, in the 60s. I can't remember the exact date.
Well, a long time ago.
Very long time ago.
But yeah. It's so funny to think, like, despite how much we've progressed and despite how far things have come, the specter of nuclear war, total annihilation, it's never really vanished. Like these days especially, like it's so topical to be talking about this episode now more than ever. Like,
sure,
we've kind of
really is, isn't it?
Yeah. Great episode, or great gag.
Right.
I didn't realize this is the first time it shows up. Love the like. Similar to you, Anthony, I love this running gag or this running bit.
How many times did they use it? Like it was like 3 times, right?
At
3 or 4 times, yeah. Well, because I'm always trying to remember because there's this one, then there is the one with and Andrew, you can correct me. It's like the gremlins on the plane.
Yeah.
But then he also removes his face to find out that she's an
Hitler.
alien fly, which is another thing. But then he's Hitler. So that one was another one. That was like a whole jumble of a bunch of episodes, I think, together.
That was the anthology of interest or something.
Right.
I think that was one.
And then the other one with the scary door is the
Tyrannosaurus.
That
one's my favorite. That one's my favorite. Yes.
That one is. I love that as well. Just for the sheer creativity of it is just fantastic. But that's like the War of the Worlds type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that one. I think that one might be my favorite all-time thing.
Sure. But this one is also great. Like I love he walks in, he's like, finally I can read, and that is his glasses fall. He's like, it's not fair. I was like, oh wait, my eyes aren't that bad. His eyes fall.
I'll read the large print.
And it sets the episode up so well too. Like,
hubris, right.
we're all gonna not only the hubris, but he loses all. Like, let's just lose an appendage. Fucking love it.
Right. No, it's wonderful.
Just I do gotta call out, the book gags are spectacular. We've got like Anti-Gravity's Rainbow. We've got 2984. We've got the Newer Testament.
Right. All these future edition versions of the books that he's gonna read and everything. It is fantastic. But yes, as they're watching this, and then like it all falls apart. Fry and Bender, of course, watching the TV, and then Leela comes in to tell them, of course, that there's a presidential election, but it's not just for the United States; it's for the world. So the world has adopted, in the future continuity of Futurama, the world has adopted basically the Western United States presidential system. And even like major parties, like there's two major parties which are run by these two people. What are their names? Jack Johnson and John Jackson, who are essentially
clones.
Clones of themselves.
Which they are clones.
Right.
Love that line. Love that line. Love that commentary.
What is one of their lines? It's just like, I think your like titanium
tax on titanium doesn't go far enough.
Doesn't go far enough, and I think your tax goes too far enough or something. Like it's just adding on.
It's too far. Yours doesn't go far enough. Yeah.
So they both have a titanium tax, but one of them isn't high enough. So that's fantastic. But of course, Fry is not registered. He wasn't registered to vote back in the day, so he still isn't. Obviously, 1,000 years later. So the group of them, and I think this is another time when we see the entire Planet Express crew. They all go to the voter registration, which is there, and I love the little gag on the sign. It says something along the lines of like, first 100 people get an extra vote, which is also just wonderful.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No.
Yeah. Mitchell, your ideas on when they go into here and you see like all these different parties and all the hilariousness of it. Like, what's your take on this? Because very American, first of all.
Okay. There's a sign. I'm sorry. The Tasty Crats, the Fingerlickins.
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 Tastocrats and Fingerlickins. So these are the ones that, they replace the Democrats and the Republicans, right? But they're basically just, I don't even know, like just the slogans for like fast food chains, I guess, like finger licking good and they're taste delicious or whatever the hell it was. Like I don't remember, but
right.
Yeah.
So there's one cell, one vote, which is just two giant amoebas. There's the Green Party with all the green aliens. The Brain Slug Party, which that's a fun party. I think I saw a few people wear stuff like that. Just it's a nice simple costume you can wear like comic expos, which I think is clever because A, I love Futurama, and B, it's very minimalistic, so you don't have to try too hard, and I love it. And then there's the Dudes for the Legalization of Hemp, and also Bull Space Moose Party, which I think is supposed to be like
that's Rocky and Bullwinkle. If I'm
Rocky and Bullwinkle, thank you.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Periwinkle, but that's wrong.
Yeah, Rocky and Bullwinkle. But I wanted to bring this up because I was going to ignore it because it's such a small little scene or whatever. But is there any reason in particular why this the what is it called, like the Moose Party or some Space Moose Party or something, which is based off Rocky and Bullwinkle? But why is it there? Is it just
the Bull Moose Party used to be a party back in the day. I want to say they merged with the Democrats. I want to say someone will need to fact check me on it, but I want to say
Harry fact checked us.
I think Teddy Roosevelt was heavily involved with it somehow. Cannot remember anything. Don't quote me.
For sure, but
again,
that makes sense. So now I'm glad that you pulled this up. So there was a party in the Bay, the Rock. What was it called? Sorry, the Bull Moose.
Bull Moose Party. It's the same with the Rainbow Wigs that we'll talk about later on.
Right.
The Wigs were another big party.
The Wigs I recognized, so I knew there was a reason for the Moose one, but I was just like, why is it Rocky and Bullwinkle? Like, what's the whole?
Probably because it's a play on that,
right.
The moose. What cartoon moose has there been? Rocky.
Fair enough. Yes.
Or Bullwinkle. I can't remember which two.
Rocky's the squirrel. Come on, man.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while. I saw like the 2001 movie, and that's the last time I had any involvement with them.
That's the last thing you ever needed to see with Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Well, the voice actress.
See Rocky and Bullwinkle? Never.
Yeah.
The voice actress for Rocky, the squirrel, right? She did a hell of a lot of voice acting. I'm pretty sure she might even had a voice in this one, but she passed away, I think, maybe within the last 10 years, and they held some big thing for it or something like that because she did it way back in the 30s or something like that.
Oh, sure. Like she came back for the role, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, and you mentioned the hemp one, of course, and that guy's just, your typical
Dave's
stoner.
not here, man.
Dave's not here, man. Whoa, I gotta look at this brochure that he just eats a burger. Like. I like how it's Amy also who's asking, like, oh, I want to know more about this.
there's Zoidberg asking Neptunian.
The ethical
Neptunian.
Yeah, the ethical treatment of humans. Yeah,
people for the ethical treatment of humans, which I find hilarious because.
And this is something as well, right? We see Hermes with the brain slug, which we will see again in the future. Like, there's episodes later, so this is kind of the idea. So I guess Hermes was already kind of for that. Although, actually, that kind of makes sense, because he wants, like, everything to be controlled and everything to be very bureaucratic.
Bureaucrats.
Right? So makes sense for him to do that.
Then there's the voter apathy party.
My favorite one is the NRA.
I love the National
Ray Gun Association. I think that's hilarious, and I love that the idea is like it's basically the idea of supervillains having no wait time for their worldwide destruction, right? Like, and what did he say? Anthrax, ray guns, doomsday devices for hunting.
Anthrax for duck hunting.
Yes, and sorry, I interrupted you. The apathy party, which Fry wants to join, he's too excited.
And there's also the Rainbow Wigs and the anti-socialists.
Yes. Anti-socialists, I think, is just a fun little play on words. That's fine. The Rainbow Wigs, yes, the wigs with the again, remind me again, they were the British sympathizers, or
I think
powder wigs. Were they called the powder wigs in real life?
No, they were just the
wigs, I think, right? Yeah.
Powder wigs would have been perfect.
So, in any case, here we are. They're all there. They're getting all this stuff. A lot of fun gags, a lot of good conversations to be had. And Fry starts to become interested in the whole process. So they're there sitting there watching TV. And then, of course, here we have the newscasters of Morbo and Linda. They're talking about who will be the next one after everything gets done. But they're going to have a debate.
I love the channel. It's channel 2 squared rooted. Two square rooted.
Square root of that, yes. Which means, like, how many channels do they actually have in all this?
I think another thing they made fun of in the future was that they also had the team jerseys also had like to the power of 5, like 1 to the power of 5. Like they were just random ass numbers and math things on there, which I loved, like fractions. Can't wait for that to be an actual thing in real life too. Well, we can't do this. We can't do the number 23 anymore. That was Jordan's. We got to retire it. Oh, we can't do. I can't remember what Kobe was. Sorry, guys. We'll retire that one.
Doesn't Leela get that in an episode where she's playing for Blurnsball, right? She becomes like 1/2 or something.
I think she becomes the single zero because she's a Cyclops. I don't know, but I never liked Kobe, so that's my excuse for not knowing his number.
No,
just pumping a lot of slander out on this. Podcast.
I know. Yeah. Let me say this though, to kind of.
You don't usually get so political.
Yeah. Kobe was a great player. I just didn't like him because he was a jackass about it. He could back up his walk, and that's probably one of the reasons why I was like, I hate the guy. He's so good, and he thinks he's so good. I think he thought he was like the best to ever exist, but he was just really, really good.
Not like another basketball player who's still working. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you anyone. I don't pay attention anymore. LeBron James is still doing something. I think he injured himself recently.
I figured he would. Now, as they're discussing the ideas of the president, and this was, as Andrew had mentioned earlier, about the posters, right, and having this. They use the same poster guy for their danger and all this stuff as the "you got to do what you got to do" kind of thing from the very first episode. So. I honestly didn't even realize that until I watched the episode again. I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's kind of a fun little gag that they've recycled and brought back.
He pops in every so often, just as for work stuff. I always love that it's like a construction worker with a helmet on for like an office job thing or something like that, right?
Yeah. And well, because the reason they bring it in is because I think there's something to do with a titanium mine has collapsed.
Well, and there's robots in there, yeah.
Robots, and the spokesperson's just like, we don't care. We're just gonna pave over it.
Yeah, and like, what the fuck? They're gonna live for 300 years. It's like,
nobody cares about robots. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go too socialist. Like, this is working class parallels. Like, workers are replaceable. The rich get richer. The man's not gonna do anything for you. Basically,
what you've just said, that's kind of what happens with Bender. So he, as a working class creature, has then, like, because titanium skyrockets, he's able to sell his body. No pun intended. But he's able to sell his body, and he's able to get, like, a whole ton of money, and then he becomes rich, but he's not able to, like, enjoy the benefits of what his body can do, I guess, anymore, right? But
I think this is my favorite joke when he sells his body and he just the guy puts him out on the curb with a mouthful of money and there's a dog sniffing him and he's like, whoa, I'll pay you $20 if you don't do what I think you're gonna do. And then if the camera pans away
goes away.
You just lost $20.
Yeah.
Don't know why. It's a simple gag and I love it.
Yep. And I also love the idea of just like he's just sitting there and like this pawn shop must be pretty close to where they work because then somebody just kicks his head and he lands right in the side where they are. So, yes, I love the gag as well. So that was just Bender with a head, or Bender as a head, sorry, and he has like just tons and tons of money in his mouth. He just has it there, and we get like a nice little montage in the episode of him living the life of luxury as a rich head, right? He goes to a pool, gets margaritas or martinis, gambles. This is like he's like, the rich get richer because he's able to manipulate the board. And then I was going to ask you about this, Mitchell, because this is an interesting gag. Or an interesting style of animation we don't really see a lot. Is like when Bender's in that car, it then becomes like a 3D animation style or something, does it not?
Yeah. They if you also look closely too, like they probably have a 3D rig of the Planet Express building too, because for order to do all that camera movement and stuff like that, it would take a heck of a long time to draw out. It's simplistic because it's geometric lines and everything, but it probably would just be easier to have a 3D rig, which is what they did if you look when he's going through the doorways and stuff like that. And it's for cars and stuff like that. And I've worked with a little bit of this too, and I've had to fudge a lot of it. Oh my god, it was hard to do. I remember I was working on a different show. I think it was like my third job or something like that, and they were in a monster truck bus or something like that, and like it was supposed to careen out of control or something like that, and they're like, make it do that. I'm like, you realize how much drawing this would be, and you guys want it in an hour? I can't do that. I'm like, I'm still learning, and like, well, do your best. And my god, I think I sweated like 30 pounds of sweat or something like that, because it was just like I had no idea what to do. This was in Flash, mind you. It wasn't a 3D program. It was a 3D element that they've imported, which I could kind of manipulate, but not to the same degree. And so, it was bad. It was bad, but they approved it.
At the time of this episode probably being created, do you think they were using a similar 3D program? Or
no, God, no. Mind you, the job I'm talking about was like 2015 or something like that. So this was made like almost 15 years prior. Yeah. And also mind you too that Toy Story was made like 94 or 93, right? So they were working on that like 92 or 91 to get that all up. So. And that would look, no offense to Futurama, that looked a lot better than this, but that was still also very simplistic, very first generation 3D graphics. This stuff has outlines, which I think is still kind of frowned upon, although it's slowly getting back into the mix. If you guys seen Puss in Boots, second movie, that has a little more outlines and stuff like that.
But but they have to make it like that, right? Because the show is itself a animation cartoon, right?
Yeah, so at this point it's hand drawn on cells.
Right.
So they would hand draw it. Someone would clean it up. They'd trace it on a cellophane sheet, and then they would have painters and stuff. I think they might have been doing something else differently, but that's how the original Simpsons were, and that was in '89. This is 2000, so I can't remember if they changed it. Then I kind of fell asleep during that part of the history class, I think.
Sure. Well, with that, then we have after the montage of everything, and Bender is as a head, he's living his life as just a head. He wants to go to one of our favorite places, which again is coming back to the very first episode of the series, which is the Head Museum. And Fry and Leela take Bender there, and they're going to go through it. And I don't know if you guys saw, like, do you remember characters or people, I should say, real people, as they're walking by? Celebrities, you have like the A-list celebrities, B-list. There's porn stars, and then like C-list or something. Did you guys catch? Like, I saw quite a few. Names that we recognize as well, but a lot of them are,
Jerry Seinfeld is in the TV star section. I love that TV stars just looks like a piece of cardboard that someone wrote in Sharpie. Yeah. TV stars.
TV has definitely changed culturally for that in the past 100%. 30 years. Like it's incredible how much it's gone like.
So that would have been right around it would have been right around the time that the first season of Sopranos was coming out. So we're just before Prestige TV really kicks off here.
Picks it up, yeah.
Lost, yeah.
With their character, yeah.
How dare you?
Sorry. Just say the first season of Lost. Anything after that isn't there.
My favorite little joke in that is that you can actually, I think, Katie
Sagal, yeah.
Right? Katie Sagal, because she was also in a TV show, Married with Children, and she was, right, not around it, Married with Children, and she has, like, her hand only, like, Billy West isn't there, John DiMaggio isn't there, because they're not big names at this point, at least
and
not
Sam Genitals, my favorite porn star.
And then they even have like the supermodel thing. There's a fun little thing with Fry. And I think they actually got what was
Claudia
her name?
Schiffer.
Claudia Schiffer.
Schiffer. She got her in. It's like, oh, but I could lose a few pounds. And Fry's like,
couldn't hurt.
Don't worry about your image too much, but couldn't hurt to lose a few more pounds off your head. But the real reason they want to go there is because Bender wants to be with the presidential heads, right? Or the president's heads. All the president's heads, and they get like, it's beautiful to see this because I'm honestly, I think Mitchell, you can back me up on this as well. I'm pretty sure since they don't have them credited, it's only like a few voice actors that are doing all of these different presidents, and it's just amazing. I'm pretty sure majority of them are probably Billy West, especially for the main one, which we'll talk about. But
he's still the god of voice acting now. A lot of people say that because he sounds younger. Dude's like 70 and he still can sound like a teenager.
Yeah, still sounds like a 25-year-old deadbeat Fry, right? So, but yes, so they all get in there. They're all talking with the presidents and they're having a good time. And I love the banter between them. They hate each other. They're sick of each other. They have like their rivalries and their jokes at each other's expense. It's wonderful. But we are introduced to probably one of the best recurring characters throughout the show is their version of Richard Nixon, who is played by Billy West, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you want to know what Billy West thinks about that?
He hates it.
Oh, he did. He was not a big fan of Nixon because I think he almost got drafted or something like that at the time for the Korean War, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is kind of his way. Vietnam. So it's a time before my life. I'll learn history when I want to learn history. And so Nixon had like some kind of whatever registration, forced registration or something like that. But didn't go through as far as I remember. Or whatever it's called, conscription. And Billy West didn't get in, but almost did, and he was super angry about it. So he got to voice Nixon, and he kind of was like, yeah, this is my kind of like get back at him because he's making him look like an idiot, right?
Sure. But he's not just an idiot. He makes him like insane.
Yeah.
Super corrupt, and he's just a mean guy. He just hates people. He hates everything.
Yeah, I don't think Billy West changed anything there.
So yeah, Andrew, your take on like just Nixon in general, right? Like just from like the real life person, like maybe the voice similarities, differences, anything that you can think of, like if you've heard him in the past, like is it very close? What's your take on that?
Oh yeah, incredible facsimile of Nixon. Obviously it's a great political statement. And Mitchell, I love that that detail. Yeah, that anecdote is incredible. I didn't know that, but
with Billy West, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that is, and like I mean, there was a period I think from about 85 to 2000 where every comedian had to have a Nixon impression.
Oh,
sure.
The I'm not
Billy. Yeah, but Billy West just knocks it out of the park.
Absolutely, yeah.
Apparently, he's also one of the actors who's played Nixon the longest or something like that. Mind you, like there's been a lot of gaps in between that with Futurama being off the air and stuff like that. But he's played Nixon the longest or consistently or something like that, which is another fun fact.
Well, with the political climate that it is, especially now in the United States. Nixon is not really necessary for like a lot of parody or a lot of conversation. Like he's not as relevant anymore.
It's 60 years ago, man.
Well, that's what I mean. So, but don't forget though that this was made.
He was instrumental in creating the environment that they have in the States these days, right?
Was this Nixon? Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, he's also. If my history serves me well, I also because of where I am, I do know that he was also instrumental in trying to when they were trying to fight off the Soviet cause, or Soviet Union. This was also his idea, or one of his cabinet's idea, to go and deal with or ally with China, because China was also communist, and so they were trying to take that over, so that this was a separation from the Soviet Union and China. That way they could have it as their own state. And so he's the reason why they opened up negotiations with Deng Xiaoping, and then this is what has led to the opening up, and why China has also become grew rapidly and developed very economically.
Oh, the Made in China stuff happened back then,
and the rest of the world for creating
he opened. Yeah.
Right. So Nixon is very influential.
Kissinger.
Well, Kissinger was I think is the one who advised him to do so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He was a big fan of them, and then he had
an obligatory fuck Henry Kissinger with red hot pokers every day for the rest of his life.
Right.
Wasn't that guy like a Nazi or something, like a
Henry Kissinger? No.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
There's a lot of weird things around that time that I just think like, oh, those guys, yeah, they're bad in the war. Yeah, we'll take them as polite prisoners. Hey, work on this stuff for us.
Oh, I see. Like after World War II, when they
you're a few
years decades late
back, but yeah, but plenty of those too.
I swear there was something Kissinger that was a part of the party, and then got brought over to the States or something. I don't know. There's a lot of them, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, with everything when it comes to Nixon, it was definitely the idea of like opening relations with China in order to grow them economically, so that they would nicely flow over to a Western style of democracy, hopefully, or at least a more open democracy with transparency and all this. And this didn't go over well because of everything else that was going on. And then when the Soviet Union fell, China took that as something of the Communist Party took it as like, this is something we don't want. So they forced everything not to go that way. But they're still allowed to grow economically. Yeah.
Remind me again, who was the one president that was like, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down the walls?
That's Reagan.
That's Reagan.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back. Sorry, just to interject.
Yeah.
Mitchell, you were correct about Kissinger being German. He was born in Germany, in the Weimar Republic.
Okay. I'm not very good at grasping memories. They all kind of just they're all goo in my brain. They kind of mix together. Like a Play-Doh. You have the blue Play-Doh and the red Play-Doh, and then some stupid kid mushes them together to try and make purple. It just makes a brown, and you're like, well, I don't have purple and I don't have red and blue anymore. That's kind of how my memories work. No, God, no. I was very keep them separate, which I know could points to science to certain things, but no.
You may be on some colorful spectrum, my friend, but we'll see.
I just like collecting colors, okay? But important to note, Kissinger left Germany before the war.
Okay.
Yeah, as a spy.
So in any case, as they're going there with Nixon and talking with Nixon also has a fun joke of like, which really demonstrates how mean he is, but he's like, no, son, I really wanted to keep my body. It's like, it was a good Republican body, all this.
Good, flabby
Republican body. And Bender's like, oh, now you tell me. He's like, that's what I love, to kick him when they're down. Like, it's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite lines of his. It's so well done to that. And I love that voice, man. It's just so good. Anyway,
my favorite joke during this time is when he gets put next to George Washington, and he's like, "Oh, what happened to your buddy?" He's like, "I hucked it." He's like, booze money."
Right.
That was my favorite joke.
Futurama has had a continuity thing where they actually make George Washington like kind of a partier. Like he talks a lot about getting drunk,
but he was.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there was that one episode that I was talking about all the presidents' heads where they have a party, and
of course, yeah, it's
in Washington, it's like the head of it or something like that.
Leela and all this stuff, like he's a bit of one of those guys, yeah. So in any case, Bender is upset about his body being gone now because he's now regretting it, but he can't get it back. He goes to the pawn shop, and they've already sold it. Fun little glimpse of this as well as you also see. It's kind of a weird thing that you see an electric guitar. I'll come back to that in a minute, but you see the electric guitar on the right. And then Bender's there, and he's like, oh, you got rid of my body, blah, blah, blah. Fun joke with Fry losing his clothes for $50. And then there's Fry sitting on the couch naked because that's all it was worth to him. And then later that night, Bender has a nightmare of losing his body and all this kind of stuff, right?
I love it too, because like you actually do see the number 2 at the very bottom of it, but you just see the top bit.
Yes.
I love it, and then Ben, because robotics, they dream in binary, right? Zeros and ones, and ones and zeros.
Do we know that for sure, Mitchell? Do we know that robots don't dream of electricity?
Ask Chat GTP, man. They do.
No 2.
There is no 2.
No such thing.
I think I saw a 2, Fry. No, Bender, there's no such thing as 2.
Yes, that was
which in a way, he's not wrong. 2 is just technically 2 ones.
Well, sure, but that's exactly his point, right? Why does Bender see 2? But that's another question entirely. So it turns out, as the narrator, Bender's still incredibly sad about this, Nixon somehow, because he found out about Bender hucking his body, now has his body, and he's there to reinstate himself as a political candidate. And I guess it's a continuation. So I'm curious, because a lot of different countries have different sets of how they do this, but the United States clearly states that they are not allowed to have more than 2 terms, except for like very, very specific situations. Yes, Andrew, go ahead. You don't have to raise your hand.
There's a button for it, Andrew, if you want to talk. There's a raise hand button.
First off, lawyer and me just wants to say, technically he's president of the world now, which would be an entirely different constitution and term.
Yeah, geez, Anthony.
Yes. But
I was just about to say, this is a completely different thing. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, no. I think this is a really interesting thing, and I can ramble on this point in particular for a very long time. But like the concept of limiting term limits dates back to FDR's time, so right during World War II. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the best presidents America ever had.
Yeah.
He was the only president ever to go for more than 2 terms, and
that was only because of war times, wasn't it? That was because of the war times.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And he rewarded the voters by dying midway through his 3rd term, in the middle of the Second War. So
that's right. Who was then replaced by Truman, wasn't it?
Truman, who was then at the end of the war, replaced by Eisenhower.
Yes.
And if FDR didn't have the audacity to die in office, I personally would argue that the United States political scene today would look entirely different. FDR was setting the states up on a, like, I don't want to say socialist, it's a bad word out there, but far more like the philosophy was more a high tide raises all ships. Help people, like that attitude perpetuated in like the New Deal, his day-to-day policies. I don't know if the Marshall Plan was under Truman or FDR, but like those concepts were, America was on the cusp of something really good there.
And because he passed away, it was.
And later Nixon, who veered slightly one way.
Sure. Well, and I think also, because you're right, he did die during that time, and then of course, like, because the president does have a lot more control than like other politicians would in their countries in terms of like democratic republics or democracies of that sort. The United States does have like that kind of sway, like the president has that kind of sway. And I know that a lot of them are a product of their time, right? So this is kind of the case. So Truman, I'd like to think Truman was doing what was right he thought was right for the United States at the time. Same with Eisenhower, even Nixon. But yes, they do sway their own way for it. Well, what I was going to mention as well, because you're absolutely right, this is a completely different constitution when it comes to like it's the president of the president of the world, and they've just adopted the same structure as what the United States has in terms of the Futurama world. But the idea of it is that it's also in different politics, right? Like for Canada, for example, which we are all part of. Those, if I'm not mistaken, our prime minister does not have any term limits. Can constantly be, as long as they want to be in power.
Isn't there a max? I thought there was a max to it.
There is no max.
Well, no, as long as the voters keep wanting that party.
As long
as the party keeps electing the same head.
That's true. So the party is actually in control, whereas like the prime minister is just the head of said party. So if they deem vote of no confidence, remove him or her, then they can put a new person there. That would become the new prime minister. That's true. But in any case, it is funny because then Nixon pops out. He's going to throw his head, right, his quote unquote head into the race, and I think this is kind of funny because he's like a completely useless character except for like this one bit, but he shows up a lot throughout the series. And this is Scoop Chang, who shows up from the Beijing Bugle, which means that China also has like open press and open media who's allowed to go and do all this stuff. But I guess it makes sense in a worldwide, voting system. So I kind of like that. But Scoop Chang asks, like, wait a minute, how are you doing this? Because you've already been president of like another thing. He's like, yeah, no body can become this. So he gets through them by a technicality. Nixon is shady. He's a shady son of a bitch.
He's a slippery guy.
Slippery guy. Now, this is what I wanted to bring up when I mentioned the guitar. They're saying like, oh my God, like he stole Bender's body or bought it or whatever. And now he's playing that guitar. And that guitar that he has.
Same guitar.
Is the same guitar. But that means he would have had to go back to the pawn shop to buy the guitar with Bender's body already, which means that they would have just passed it.
They could have had two.
They could have had two of the exact same guitar. You're right. You're absolutely right. But
yeah.
But I do love his singing the song. I'm meeting you halfway, you damn hippie. It's like I love everything he says. It's just so funny. Any case, so they decide they're going to go and try to reason with Nixon. Of course, trying to get Bender's body back, and they're going to go to the presidential debates between Jack Johnson, John Jackson, and Nixon. Excuse me. And
good friend.
Morbo's good friend, exactly. So yeah, there's a bit of corruption here going on. It makes sense. And of course, I do like a little joke there on the sign that says like the day afterwards, vice presidential, yo mama so fat joke.
I love that. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
So I would absolutely pay to watch that. By the way, like any current administration, I'd pay to watch that. If they
your mama so fat that she thought a lightsaber was
light on calories. Yeah,
was light on calories compared to a regular saber.
Your mama said, "That's no moon. That's your mama." Yeah. Any case, so they go in there. Nixon is asked questions. Mitchell and I talked about this off recording one day, just like the funny joke of this. But like, how does this work again, Mitchell? It's like it's
a truthoscope. Which is like a lie detector, but the opposite. It'll go crazy when you're telling the truth. And I love that. Would you take candy from a baby? Well, the question's very not straightforward. You don't say what type of candy or if anyone's watching.
I certainly wouldn't hurt the child.
Yeah, I wouldn't harm the child. And then the thing goes like, truth.
Well, I think that's still supposed to be like it's not like it's no. He's definitely lying, right?
They're they're truthoscopes. They're not lie detectors. They're truthoscopes.
Yeah, is it a polygraph?
He's telling, it's a polygraph, but for the truth. So it'll go crazy when he's telling the truth. So he was telling the truth. He wouldn't harm the child, but he'd still take the candy.
Okay.
Knowing what I know about Nixon, I'm not too sure about the child.
I thought it was just. I thought the truthoscope was just kind of like a future version of like a polygraph test. So like truthoscope is like how truthful are you, and then like the more it goes like this, it's like absolutely not, because it only starts doing it when he says something.
Well, how does a lie detector work, Anthony? Because when you're lying, it goes crazy, right? It goes crazy, and this is a truthoscope, which does the same thing, but for truth.
Yeah, but when you're telling the truth, you don't panic. And your heart doesn't work
I know, but he never answered the question. He said he wouldn't hurt the child, not that he wouldn't steal the candy. So he wouldn't harm the child, so he wouldn't harm it because it was going crazy. So he was telling the truth about that. But he never answered the question, which is, I think, a political thing, because when they go, hey, what's your favorite color, blue or red? Well, green is a very good color because it's like money, but purple is also this. And anyway, I would say black is a wonderful color.
We don't talk about how blue something is or how red, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I view that. He avoided the question by saying a partial truth, which is a truth, because the truthoscope said it was.
Right. Well, what's your take on this, Andrew? Because I think it's similar to a polygraph. I'm pretty sure he's lying when he says, I certainly wouldn't hurt the child.
It's a truthoscope. It would be called a lie detector if that was the case, and it would go when it was lying.
It's just a truthoscope is to see how much you would tell the truth. But in any case, Andrew, your position on this, do you think
you're a gentleman and a scholar?
But I'm
I
wrong.
have to go with Anthony on this one.
Nah, both of you are wrong.
Like I try to fact check this. There's obviously nothing online.
Nobody's ever argued about this.
Shockingly.
Okay, yeah, so I'm pretty sure.
Get in the comments.
All right, so I guess I gotta go create a Reddit thread and ask about this, don't I?
Truthoscope literally means how much they tell the truth, and when it moves like this, they're telling the truth. Okay.
But
okay.
I like it. The gag is funnier if he will harm the child.
That's what I was thinking, right? But I mean, like, if it's telling the truth, it's all that stuff. Like, I feel like that doesn't really add anything to Nixon. It actually kind of humanizes him a bit. Like, I certainly wouldn't hurt the child. Yeah, he's right.
Truth.
Right. I'm like, okay, all right. But in any case, Nixon clearly doesn't have any decency for a lot of things. But
although later in the episode, he does more or less explicitly mention harming children.
He does, doesn't he? So I wonder if that takes it away. So of course the trio, that being Fry, Bender, and Leela, all hide in Nixon's room. Nixon is worried about his rights, but apparently because he has a robot body, the robots love him, and so robots can still vote in this universe, obviously. And then they pop out, they demand his body. He's like, nope, not giving it to you. Fry makes a joke about his decency. Everybody laughs, including Nixon. So he gets them out and they leave. Another one of my favorites is like, I would never give up this body, not even like just as much as I wouldn't give up my old dog Checkers or whatever.
That might be my favorite reference.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes. I'll have to. Yeah.
That might be the best reference in the episode. Love it. Like, the Checker speech actually totally shifts how American politicians present it to the public.
Sure.
But, explain that to me, because I don't.
We'll come back to that. But also, shut up. Best line of the episode, right there, hands down.
Hands down. All right, we'll remember that for the end of the show.
The Checker speech is actually a very famous. It's a completely new paradigm for how politicians were expected to interact with the public. So very, very Cliff Notes version. Someone should probably fact check me on a lot of this. But
Gary,
someone get in the comments. Very early. I don't know if this was his first presidential run or if he was still VP. But Nixon was more or less accused of embezzling funds that were being provided for his campaign, and he was receiving gifts like fur coats,
nice,
like little bribes from people who wanted to influence him. And so what he did was, and again, completely unheard of at this time. I think it was, I want to say 56, 57, late 50s for sure. Okay. What he did was. Flew to LA, got in the studio, and spoke directly to the American public. And this was one of the first times that a political candidate in modern America did this. And he basically I'm not sure if it's slander to say anything here, but he certainly wasn't entirely honest. He refuted a lot of the claims, but he did say he's going to return everything that all the gifts that were given to him. All the fur coats, everything like that.
Thrown on a bonfire.
Except for the little black and white dog that my daughters love. Or my girls have named Checkers or something like that. And so like he goes on to basically like he plays this very well, I think, in this day and age. He was ridiculed for it. It followed him around for the rest of his career. But he basically told voters to say, listen, if you think I'm dishonest, if you don't want me to be your candidate, write a letter to the RNC. I'll honor that. So that scandal dogged him throughout his career. But yeah,
incredible.
Checkers. It changed how politicians act in America.
And the fact that he's so angry at it, just doing a small bark, just shows you how much he would have actually liked that dog for what happened to his career afterwards. Like Mitchell, I didn't really know that either. So it's nice to hear like a little bit of background to that. And that is such a small little joke that most people probably wouldn't even know if they weren't from that time or didn't read up on it.
I was rolling on the floor.
Oh my God.
I haven't watched this episode probably since 2011.
Sure, I haven't watched this episode in a long time either. And so when I saw that, I was just like, that. And now when you give me that historical background, I'm just like, that is wonderful.
Clearly just shut up.
Shut up, damn it.
Like,
yeah,
how do you do that?
I think my favorite Nixon thing to ever do is when he's watching a squirrel go across a wire line. He's like, fall, damn it, fall.
Well, it seems like that's a continuity thing as well, of him just hating on, everything. But animals especially. But now, after the whole thing with trying to appeal to his decency, which does not go well, they decide that they're just going to steal the body. And this is, of course, yet another reference, and I think most of us, if not all of us, will know this reference because this is like the thing that Nixon was very well known for, was being caught doing this. But the Watergate Hotel, and there's a joke here where he's staying, Nixon is staying at the Watergate Hotel. Fry asks why, and Leela says, oh, they give him a discount if he's been there before, which is, of course, referencing the Watergate scandal. That's very good. And they climb up here. I think this has also been like a huge – is it a meme? I wouldn't say it's a meme, but maybe like a common thing, like, get a room, we're in a room, and this whole thing.
Lose some weight.
And I don't know if this is just an accident on animation or if it's just they wanted to hold that for like the humor's sake. But when he says that, well, then lose some weight. It takes a few more seconds to go up, but you're watching Bender still stare at them as it's going up. So I wonder if that's on purpose or if it's just because they just didn't cut to the next scene at the time. Any case, they break into the room. Nixon's sleeping. I try to understand kind of what he's dreaming about, but I think he says something along the lines of like,
you women's livers sure know how to party.
Yeah, women's livers. Is this like liberals or some other thing? But I actually don't know women's liberals.
They're like the like your first wave feminists, more or less. So you're
okay.
Well, maybe not. I guess maybe not first wave, but you're people who are pushing back, like you're free spirited hippies. You're the bra sort of people. Like you're anti-Nixons essentially.
So Nixon is dreaming about partying with the people that he claims to hate in his. Yes. Okay, so I thought that might be something with it, but now with it. Okay, so as they go in here, Leela starts to unscrew his head off of Bender's body because he's laying on the sofa. I don't know how you guys feel about this. This is probably my least favorite joke, definitely of the season, definitely of the episode. There are other episodes that I'm not a huge fan of when it comes to certain jokes because I'll call this a joke for the sake of the plot. It doesn't add anything, but it's not really part of anything either. It's just there. But in order for them to have the confrontation with Nixon, he needs to wake up. In order for them to wake him up, the joke they went with was Fry goes on a massage bed, but it's like thought orientated, so thought activated. Fry has a thought, and it wakes him up and screws being shaken around by these weird tentacles that come out of the sofa, then throw him back down, would make six. You guys' thoughts on this? Like, couldn't it easily have been like it's still Fry, but he maybe like knocks over a bunch of bottles and like they make this loud noise, which is I don't know, something like this. Like, what's your thought on this? Yeah,
it's fine. It's a Futurama joke. What I would say is just that there's a tentacle massage bed. Like, what else would like it would be just a little too simple for him to trip over something or have Bender say something to wake him up or something. I think it's a more Futurama way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a great joke, but I'm with Mitchell. It's not it fits. Like that's
it's not
that's
out
it.
Of the realm.
It's not a great joke, but
okay.
It's low-hanging fruit. They got to wake him up somehow. Out of the three people, it's got to be Fry because he hasn't had much time in this episode. So let's make him do something. All right, guys, what are we going to make him do? Well, what is he doing in the room? Well, he's probably just standing there. Okay, well, he's going to sit down because he's lazy. Okay, on a bed. Massage bed. Ah!
Sure. Well, I think that's the thing. I don't feel like this is low hanging fruit. The joke that comes afterwards is low hanging fruit with the massage bed. That's low hanging fruit. This one is just. It feels to me like it's just kind of inserted for the sake of, like you just said, we need to wake him up. But yeah, sure. Fry needs to sit down. What's the difference? Why not just have him sit in a chair that then has like something break, and then they're all like, oh no, like be quiet, and then Nixon's still sleeping. And then Fry's like, okay. And then he puts his arms out and then knocks something over. And then, like the escalation of it, right? But this was just
boring.
But it makes more sense. But that's what I mean. Like this just tentacle chair. I don't know.
I think you're way too hung up on this.
It's one of those. It feels like it stops the progression of the show for me for this episode. That's why. But if you guys,
but you said yourself that he had to wake up for the confrontation, so I think you're making mountains out of molehills, man.
But the way they did it, though, doesn't make sense to me. That's what I mean. They still need to wake him up, obviously. They still need to get to B, but it doesn't make sense for how they did it, in my point of view. If you guys think it fits, the majority of people think it probably fits, right? So it's just me. But in any case, Nixon gets caught. Nixon wakes up. They have this confrontation, and as we just mentioned, and he proves that he's going to do some horrible things, as Andrew alluded to earlier. With what does he say? I'm going to sell children to
I
slave
think
camps.
I'm going to sell children's organs to zoos or some shit.
Right. And then I'm going to like break into people's homes and like mess up the place. Like, he's just going to do a bunch of random crap because he's insane and he's bitter. He also makes a very good topical moment about like your average voter is still as drunk
and stupid as ever
as they were. So I love that too. It's really good. But then as he said all this stuff, because Bender's obviously a robot, he's able to record it, and he's able to get Nixon a second time with recordings.
In the Watergate!
In the Watergate. Mitchell and I have talked about this in the past episodes as well, is that Futurama has this beauty of using old technology
in the
future. Like a cassette tape, they've used records, they've used like phone booths, like they've used all this old technology that we don't even use anymore, only like 20 years later, and they still use it as like this nice little throwaway gag or something. So yes, a cassette tape with Nixon's stuff with this thing, trades it for his body. Bender gets it back, and I guess the episode finishes with, it turns out because of the robot vote, and Nixon gets a brand new body of like this gigantic robot, and he just destroys Washington, D.C. because he wants to get to the White House. It's all because of Leela forgetting to vote, because one vote actually did make a difference. And Nixon is president for the remainder of the show. And that's great. We get to have like wonderful President Nixon. So, yeah.
Is he always just president of the world, or does that change?
He's always president.
Yeah, the only president that got killed was Vice President Morbo. Not Morbo.
McNeil.
McNeil. No. The headless body. The headless body that he had.
Oh, headless Agnew. Yeah.
Agnew. Yeah. Right.
Vice
he
President
got killed
Agnew.
in the movies.
That's right. Yeah.
Spoilers.
He gets killed. His body gets right. And then the previous president of the world, which was McNeil, and he dies in the episode he's introduced in. So this is why they're having that, which is also a nice little continuity thing there. But yes, this finishes off ahead in the polls. So as we finish off here, your guys' thoughts, your favorite scenes, funniest scenes, MVP.
My favorite funniest scene was the tentacle thing.
You know what?
Yeah,
now what? If you like stupid jokes, that's fine.
Oh no, sorry. You're just mad about it.
That was the thing though. The low hanging fruit was like literally at the very end, like, oh fine, you can have your body back or whatever. And then Fry says like, I have one more thought. And then he gets like taken by the thing. It's just a visual gag that's just to throw that in again. I was like, doesn't really work for me, but hey man, if you love it, you love it. It's okay. My favorite is
better than any joke you've ever had. Boom, said it.
Done. My favorite is Checkers. Yeah.
Yeah, Checkers. I think I've already made it very clear. Love again. We'll go back to the scary door.
That and the I'm meeting you halfway hippies. I don't know why. I love that. I just love that scene as well. But the Checkers one, I think takes it. Yeah.
I like it. I think the joke with the two is my favorite. There is no such thing as two.
Right. Sure.
But I think my favorite joke, at least, is I think it's right at the end. We've got the Washington Monument.
Oh,
right
I forgot to
beside
mention.
it,
Yes.
Slightly bigger. The Clinton Monument.
Yes.
Dick jokes transcend time. They transcend space.
Yeah.
They are comedy.
Yes. No, I'm glad you brought that up because I did actually have that in my own notes for it because in the future as well, especially when we're through like the Obama administration and everything, and they've added that for topical humor, he also has a monument, and it's a dark, like a black monument that's even taller than Clinton's, and so that is a continuity thing that continue on. There is also one other thing as well. Mitch, I'm not sure if Mitchell would remember this because this might be a reference to something in Futurama, but when Bender and those guys are sitting and they're depressed, they couldn't get the body right before they go to the Watergate. Yeah, do you know what I'm talking about, Andrew? Yeah, so he's sitting on the pile of skulls, that alien thing. What is that?
So that's the Lincoln. Oh, sorry.
It's a Lincoln Memorial, but yeah, sorry, yeah, whoever, yeah. Andrew, go ahead. Yeah.
No, Mitchell's got this.
Oh no, I'm looking up right now. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's FXJKHR, and it's the 60th president. It's this monster alien being that's chewing on something, and it's on the Lincoln Monument. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's Lincoln Monument. Yeah,
it's replaced the Lincoln Monument as an alien and the skulls.
Right. So is that the 60th president of the United States? I'm assuming is supposed to be the joke.
It just says 60th president, so
yeah,
it's probably of the world because that would make more sense at the time. Because
we're
how many
still far away from. We're on 45. Like we're still far away from. We're 46. 45, 46.
46.
But 46. So we're far. We're still pretty far away from a 60th.
56 years. A minimum of 56 years.
Assuming that everybody lives.
57 because it's next year.
And
damn it, FDR.
And they only have one term, right?
Well, they also could get impeached and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
there are possibilities here. We can burn through some presidents.
I'm sure they're probably talking about it.
I guarantee there's going to be some like assassinations of people in the next 10 years. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, you got plans?
We'll
see. yeah. Anthony won't be returning to China.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we got to be careful with what we say there. Well, in any case, then we'll go to the MVP of the episode. So I mean, obviously for me, mine's Nixon. I can't deny that. Nixon, I think, is hilarious. It is probably the best character in that show and the smallest minor character that's probably showing up throughout the series. What about you guys?
The brain slugs.
The brain slugs. Like the.
Again, because it's just, I think it's more so that I just want to get a simple one and go to Comic-Con with it or something like that. It was just such a simple idea.
Oh. Are you setting up yourself in the future to have like no backtracking? You're like, See, I said this. Okay. I will remember that, brain slug. Andrew, yourself, your favorite MVP, or your MVP, I should say, for the episode. Not necessarily your favorite, just who did well in this episode.
Any episode, Morbo is always going to be my MVP. He's always got the best lines. How's your family? Belligerent and numerous.
All humans are puny to Morbo or whatever, right?
May death come quickly to his enemies. Congratulations.
Right, he does like a little bow, right? Yeah.
Like, and just the fact that him and Nixon are like clearly friends, they've known each other for a while, like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. But he's gone to his dinner he's gone to his house for dinner, right? Like he knows his kids and family. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But this is a Bender episode.
Yeah.
So I gotta give it to Leela. She actually got shit done. She called out the importance of participating in political discourse and how critical it is always to be an informed voter. Yeah, I'm bringing it down, guys.
All right. So you're throwing in Leela.
Still, she managed to be no better than Fry in the end.
That's right. In the end, she's the one that fucked up. Yeah, exactly. Her high horse, and she got knocked right off.
Yep.
After all that. Nope, fair enough. So I'll throw you in for Leela. All right, Nixon, the Brain Slug, and Leela. Well, and for that then, thank you guys for joining. Andrew, thank you for joining us for this special time, and your insight onto all the political dealings was wonderful to have you. Mitchell, as always, wonderful to see you here. We'll see you again for the next episode. I guess, Xmas Story, the first one, which... yeah, it won't be during Christmas, but you can watch during or listen during Christmas. That's okay.
Well, who knows? By the time we get it out, maybe it'll be Christmas.
True. We'll have to see.
Didn't you start the episode by complaining about how long it takes to get episodes out?
Yeah. It's gonna be 8 months. We got 8 months to do it.
It'll be the day before, so we'll still get it before then. But in any case, yes, thanks again, Andrew. Thank you, Mitchell, and yeah, see you guys all next time for Xmas Story.
Thanks. See ya.